Well, hello, friends, and welcome to The Healthy Christian Leader. I'm Dwight Habermel, and I have our guest today, Seth Fancy. And Seth is from King's Church here in town and in Halifax. It's great to have you here, Seth. You've been here numerous times before, and you're a favorite of mine to interview. I really enjoy it. So today, we're looking at leading with vulnerability. So, for those who don't know you, Seth, tell me just in an elevator ride a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I've been in ministry. I'm closing in on over 20 years of full-time ministry. Been in Halifax, Nova Scotia here for almost 9 years. Planted a church here.
That's no small feat.
No, it's no small feat. But a part of a church, a larger church. We're one church in multiple locations across the Maritimes called King's Church.
Right.
And we are 5 locations, soon to be 6 locations. And
now the flag church or the mother church or original church, what do you call it? The home base or?
Yeah, we just call it the Valley location, Central location.
Central location. So that is in New Brunswick.
That's correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Have you ever experienced vulnerability when you're leading?
Yes. quite a bit actually, Dwight. Yes, I have. Yeah.
And you felt vulnerable in moments?
Very much so. Yeah, very much so. Vulnerability is, it's hard not to be a leader. I don't think to experience some form of vulnerability, especially in today's day and age. There have been times where, because of life circumstances, has forced me into a place of being very vulnerable with myself, with those around me, even with my church community. And so part of my story is I went through a really, really hard time of anxiety and depression. And it's really challenging, especially as a leader, to go through a season like that. There was a lot of shame, there was a lot of pain. There was just a lot of things that I was dealing with that I'd never dealt with before. And of course, our role is public. We're on a platform. And when things seem off, and especially in that season of my life, it kind of forced me into a place of being quite vulnerable with people. And so it's been a journey of walking in vulnerability, leading with vulnerability.
Now, there was a time when the word on the street for leaders was stuff it, don't let them see 100%. You sweat. And that's kind of shifted.
Yes.
And why has that been important?
I think there's been this sort of long-standing, maybe unsaid kind of thought around vulnerability in what you're saying, that if I'm vulnerable, then that's a sign of weakness. Or if I'm vulnerable, then I'm going to lose authority. I think there's still a struggle for vulnerability today.
There is a balance.
There is a balance in it.
Yeah.
I think there's a huge balance in that. I think the biggest struggle today with vulnerability with leaders is it's hard for me to be vulnerable because I don't know who to trust.
Right.
Like, trust is a big issue for those of us that are leaders.
Yeah.
Now, why I think vulnerability is key to leadership is because I think vulnerability can be a powerful tool. So I would say this: as a leader, I'm vulnerable, but I'm wise in how I'm vulnerable.
Yeah, you don't cast your pearls before swine.
100%, right?
Right.
And so there's times, especially in my situation, the reason I can sit and talk about this time of anxiety and depression is because it's no longer an open wound.
Right.
It's a scar, but it's not an open wound.
Right.
So I don't lead from my open wounds, but my scars are my testimonies.
Right.
And there's power in those testimonies. And when I'm able to kind of share that from a place that's going to serve people, not serve me, it's actually serving people, there can be great power in that people can identify with, people can model. Listen, if we want to see vulnerability become a thing among the people we lead, we as leaders have to model this.
Well, it makes discipleship more achievable when you say, here's the real
100%.
journey.
Yes.
And hey, it's not all
Right.
a bed of roses. Not everything's perfect. It doesn't all twinkle and shine.
Right.
Life has hard moments, and we have to get real with God.
And even listen, I'm not a superhero. I'm just a shepherd.
Well, it's interesting,
Right.
we look back at Paul.
Yes.
And Paul was pretty clear. He was pretty transparent.
Very transparent.
Yeah. And
Right.
and he said, come follow me as I follow Christ.
Yes.
And he shared his vulnerabilities
Totally he did.
in his pursuit of Christ.
Yes.
And I think people are powerfully encouraged in that.
Very, very encouraged. Paul was vulnerable but hopeful
Yes.
at the same time. He wasn't just vulnerable for vulnerability's sake, but I think he used his vulnerability as a place of honesty, but he was hopeful in his vulnerability. Like that litany of things he talks about, I'm struck down but not destroyed. I've been, I've been persecuted but I'm not abandoned. Talk about being vulnerable, but also being hopeful with his vulnerability.
Yeah, and the things I want to do, I don't do.
Right?
And the things I don't want to do, I do. Oh, wretched man that I am. That's pretty clear.
It's wild for us to think. Like the Apostle Paul is saying these words.
Yeah.
And he's and to think that the Holy Spirit inspired these words.
Yeah.
As part of the canon of Scripture that we have. And so vulnerability is literally built into our holy text that we follow, we live, we abide. We sing psalms and songs. We have lamentations of people bearing their hearts and their souls unto God.
Yeah. And Jesus himself,
Jesus is a great example.
sweat
Yeah.
great drops of
Yes.
blood. Like it's,
Yes.
you see it.
100%. Yeah.
So, that's very interesting. And how do you discern
Yeah.
what is appropriate and what's not? How do you divide?
It's a great question.
Yeah.
I think there's a difference between transparency and access. So let's use Jesus as an example in this. You already hit one of the situations, but if you look at Jesus, 2 times that we see him very, very vulnerable, right? One, John chapter 11, where Jesus comes into Bethany, finds out that one of his best friends just died, Lazarus. And Scripture tells us that Jesus wept, just publicly wept. Very transparent. Corey Russell, I heard him say this, that phrase, Jesus wept, is not the shortest verse in the Bible, it's the longest verse in the Bible. That little 2-word phrase is probably a 30 to 45 minute episode of Jesus just heaving tears and just this public display of sadness. That's being transparent. But then you talked about Jesus going into the Garden of Gethsemane and sweating drops of blood. Now, what's interesting about the difference between the two is one is public, the other one's private. And the other one, in the Garden of Gethsemane, Jesus only invites 3 people to be part of that with him, right? Peter, James, and John are invited to that space with Jesus. So I think there's a difference between transparency and access, especially for leaders. And I think healthy leaders understand this. I think healthy leaders are okay with circles. And there's certain things that are healthy for everybody to know. I'm going to be transparent here. But there's times where a leader has to be vulnerable about himself. And I think there's certain circles that are boundaries that are healthy for leaders to be able to deal with things, to process things, to be able to deal with things in their own hearts. Every leader knows this, that when you're a leader, your job really is to absorb stress, not create stress for people. However,
it's a good word.
We're also human beings.
That's a very good word.
But we need a place and we need a healthy context in order to deal with our own souls and the pressures that are there as well. So I think, again, having a healthy boundary line between what is where to be transparent, and then where to give access to only certain groups of people. You don't owe everyone everything as a leader, right? But in balance in that, vulnerability can be a powerful tool. And so I think it's learning those circles, learning those boundaries, learning those lines that are going to be helpful for leaders. Yeah.
And the Holy Spirit gives wisdom in that
100%.
when you seek Him.
Totally.
Oh, that's so good. Can vulnerability strengthen authority?
Oh, 100%. I totally believe it can. I think it, and again, I think that's kind of where like for the longest time we feel like maybe being vulnerable makes us lose authority.
Well, I think part of it is authenticity.
It
and
is.
Authenticity creates authority.
Look, 100%.
Because they can see where you're heading.
Yeah.
You know, I might not have it all together here, but this is where I'm heading. That's authentic.
Yes.
But it also creates trust.
And I think you're right. I mean, like the whole idea of building trust, there's kind of meeting people where they're at, and vulnerability has a way of breaking down walls that can build those sort of unseen kind of connections with people in a way that actually, again, you don't lose authority in, you actually gain authority in, because experience has a way of like, you know, giving us a place to speak from.
Actually a friend of mine, Alistair Petrie, calls that earned authority.
Yes, that's perfect.
Yeah.
To be honest, before I went through my situation with like anxiety and depression, I had no authority around that topic at all, none whatsoever. But now that I've kind of gone through that season, I've walked through that season before. God has helped me through it. He's delivered me from it. I now have a place that I can speak from with authority in it because I myself have experienced this.
That's right.
And there's also a greater sense of empathy now that I have.
Yeah, like for instance, if somebody's going through what you went through, and you were sharing and you'd never experienced it, like that lacks something. You basically, it's book knowledge.
Exactly. Again, you know the difference between someone who has walked through what you've walked through versus a textbook answer.
And Jesus talks about it. He
100%.
says, he says that the encouragement you receive in your trials is the encouragement that God will flow through you into to encourage others.
Yeah.
That's the Dwight Habermill translation.
I like that one.
Yeah. How can leaders encourage others to be more vulnerable in a safe way? Like, I mean, obviously we're doing that right now.
Yeah.
But how can you encourage others? Because it's not necessarily the cultural norm.
Right. Yeah.
And, you lead a lot of leaders.
Yeah.
Your church just doesn't function around you.
Right.
You're leading a lot of people who are leading in all kinds of capacities. How do you encourage it and foster it for them?
I think start small. Start in small circles. Again, I think especially as a person like myself, and those of us that are listening to this, oftentimes we find ourselves on public platforms. Again, speaking from our scars, not our open wounds. Like me
I like that, by the way.
Preaching from a platform, this is not an open therapy session for the whole world to hear. But I think having the courage to be able to share some things that you've gone through, that God has healed you in, is a very powerful thing. One of the things we do at our men's breakfast is that our men's breakfast is not built upon, especially the ministry time or the speaking time, is not built upon someone coming and teaching information. We've built our men's breakfast, our men's ministry on vulnerability and testimony. And so in a guided space, guided place, we give guys opportunities to share their story. I think another thing you can do is reward vulnerability, right? You become, as a culture, what you celebrate.
Yes.
And so I think in small ways, celebrating, rewarding, normalizing healthy vulnerability is one of the ways that you can start to be vulnerable yourselves. Is just create a culture for it. But I would say, like, start small, like start with a small circle, be courageous with vulnerability, for sure.
So have you ever experienced being vulnerable and you overshared and you kind of had to pick up the pieces?
Yeah.
I can tell you right now, I'll be vulnerable. I have actually.
I have too.
Yeah.
And I usually know I've overshared when my wife tells me I've overshared.
Yeah.
So, I think there's times where, and again, I think it's like you understand the circles of where you are, right?
Yeah.
And understanding, again, I think there's some things that we can like kind of filter ourselves through. Is this truthful, for one? Is this helpful? To what ends? Is this glorifying God? Is this here to serve the people, or is this here to serve me? I think those are key questions to consider before stepping into a space where you're planning to be vulnerable. I would say, like, plan your vulnerability. Don't wing it. I think that's a key thing as well.
And I'll throw one that seems like the simplest thing that you're going to probably laugh at. But be careful with caffeine for those who are sensitive. Like, I have a sensitivity to caffeine. Right. I embarrass myself sometimes when I've had too much caffeine.
Yeah.
And if you're in that kind of an environment, it's probably good to just hold back.
That's right. Yeah.
So it's like you're almost preparing an environment.
100%. Like when we get people to share testimonies, we actually ask people to write them out and read them, right? And that's for their sake, honestly. Yes. It's so that there's time to process, there's time to work some things out, there's time just to practice it. And some of the most powerful testimonies that we've experienced and heard are people who it was thought out, it was written down, and it was actually read. Like, you just read it. And so we found that to be such a healthy way to be able to practice.
Well, that would also give you an opportunity to discern it in the body.
100%. Yeah. And also with that, like, part of what I feel like my role is, and one of my job as a leader, is to help shepherd and lead people in those things. So it's not just like, hey, here you go, here's a format, good luck. It's a constant kind of back and forth of, hey, how you doing? How can I help you? How are you feeling as you're going through this experience of getting ready to share something that is quite personal?
Yeah.
But also, we're believing that God is going to speak through your personal story in such a way that it's going to touch maybe someone else that's going to listen to this. And listen, like the book of Revelation tells us, that we as Christians overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. And so there's some sort of resiliency and encouragement that comes through people telling their stories. And oftentimes those stories are very personal, and those testimonies are very personal. But man, do they ever bring such a powerful impact on people and on people's lives.
Now this comment's going to divide the room.
Okay.
I've actually found that in challenging situations where I need to be transparent, AI can actually help me craft a conversation that is both transparent, so it's sharing, you write your real story, and it helps recraft that, and then you can make it your own after that.
That's right.
But it's a tool that we have today. I know a lot of people have mixed feelings about it. You don't want it to be preaching messages, and you don't want it to be, its puppet or anything like that. But it is a helpful tool for review and refine and
100%.
research and what have you.
100%.
Yeah. And we've got about 5 minutes
in
the time that we have left. For a church that may have hit a bump in the road, right? Something has happened that's significant. Maybe a pastor made a mistake. Maybe, something was planned that didn't go as planned. How do you handle those large items when they come, and when things start to spin out of control and you kind of have to pull it back? Tell me about that. I mean, there's transparency there, but how do you take an environment where it's starting to spin out of control and start pulling it back?
Yeah. Again, I think there's just a real level of gut level sort of honesty in those moments that I don't think you should be afraid of. I've been in situations like that. I've been in situations where overnight I've been thrust into the full weight of an organization's now upon me, where it wasn't the day before,
Right.
for all sorts of situations and issues. And you're the one that's having to bear the consequences. And now new levels of responsibility are thrown on you. And there's nothing like being thrown in the fire like that. The thing I've learned in those moments more than anything is, number one, and I'll say this like over and over again, but you have to stay close to Jesus in those moments.
Yeah.
And then second, and again, sometimes we don't like to admit this, but I think it's important that we hear this today. You don't have to lead alone. Like, you don't have to lead alone.
Such a good word.
There is...
In fact, you shouldn't lead alone.
No, you shouldn't lead alone. Listen, there's situations I've faced that maybe even in recent days where I have, rather than trying to bear the weight of all this on me, I am so blessed to have so many great leaders in my life around me. Some of them aren't even part of my church. Some of them are part of other churches, where I've literally picked up the phone and I've just said, hey, listen, I'm going through something right now. I'm working through something that I just don't have clarity on. Can you help me lead through this? And it might not necessarily you're there in person, but like calling them to just can I get some encouragement? Have you gone through something like this before? There is counsel with many voices. And so I remember as a young guy having to enter into a situation that was really challenging, really difficult. And if it wasn't for other key leaders who had gone before me, who reached out, made themselves available, here's what we have to do. We have to take people up on their offer for real. And responding to that and saying, hey, I actually am a person that I've never led at this level before. I've not been in a situation like this. But I would say, stay close to Jesus. Be a person who frequents the secret place in prayer. And then be honest. I think there's a level of honesty and I don't know how many times I've said this, Dwight, and it feels nerve-wracking at the moment, but there's no better way forward than being authentic, even in leadership, to say, I actually don't know right now, but God knows.
Yeah.
And we're going to just continue in this season. This is a stretching season, but we have faith that God is going to lead us
and
through
people appreciate it. Like
100%.
when you come in and they feel like you're faking the answers, that's a whole different thing than when you come and say, hey, I don't have the answers, but I'm seeking God for them.
Yes.
And I know in our business, as we grew in certain seasons over time, I had to come and say to our team, I've never been here before.
Right.
I've never led at this level, but here's what I'm doing to support our team. And
will you join me?
And it worked.
Yeah, and I think and then will you join me?
Yeah.
In praying with us right now.
Yeah.
As we step into this new season or into this new area. And I think the more that you can, again, like honesty, authenticity, especially in places of leadership, again, I think your authority continues to grow, not lessen in those.
I agree.
And then also not feeling like you have to lead alone at all. Like,
so important.
yeah,
So
100%.
important.
Yep.
I'm just looking forward to having you back again, Seth.
Let's do it.
And that's great. Let's do it again, and we'll see you next time on The Healthy Christian Leader. Well, thanks for joining this conversation. I trust that you were encouraged and challenged by the stories and experiences that were shared today. Would you join us next week? You can find new episodes weekly in video form on the Aaron Ministries YouTube page and in audio form wherever you get your podcasts. Aaron Ministries is an interdenominational network of friends in ministry with a mission to foster healthy Christian leadership. Check out our website, aaronministries.com, for more information and resources, and on how you can donate to our ministry and potentially start a healthy Christian leader gathering in your area. Until we meet again, may you experience the Lord's blessing, grace, and peace. I'll see you next week.